So thank you very much, Chef, for coming here today and speaking with the graduates this morning, giving them your advice and your wisdom. We really appreciate your presence here on campus. What advice would you give to yourself if you had just graduated from CIA?
Keep learning. Keep learning about everything. Travel, try to travel. Go out, see different cultures, different foods, and learn from them. And learn all the different types of cooking and of food that are out there in the world.
You have traveled extensively, and how did you decide on the places that you traveled? And where would you recommend that people go, young cooks? Where should they go to see food and experience different cuisines?
Well, I think that the decisions have been picked just by opportunities and things, and people calling you and wanting you to do this and that. And my parents used to live in Paris, so that's why we traveled throughout Europe. And so it's nothing that I have chosen, but if I would be able to just choose where I would go, I would certainly go to, many parts of Asia. And if I wasn't Mexican, I would definitely dare to go to Mexico and try to learn one of the most wonderful cuisines in the world. And I would definitely choose to go to the Mediterranean, Turkey, all those Eastern Mediterranean kind of countries to have amazing foods and a lot to learn from.
So as we talk about different world cuisines, we've talked about being in Asia and being in the Mediterranean, and Mexico is obviously your specialty. So what do you think some of the political or social impacts are of this increasing interest in Mexican cuisine here in America?
Well, only good. I would say in many cases and in many other countries, I think bringing people, and we see it more and more, tourism committees and stuff for countries are bringing in people for that reason. Food, they're like, okay, well, if our food's not good, people are going to come anymore, and they're starting to fix it, because I think the world's getting to know a little bit more about food, and they're becoming more, they want to choose if you make them. It's happening in all the countries, I think. Culinary tourism is getting to be big, so it's a good thing for the economy of many countries to put a strong focus on your foods and where are you going to bring these people to the food things in your country. I think it can only be good.
Your book, Tacos, Tortas, and Tamales, has received a lot of acclaim recently. So what would be some advice that you would give to someone who's looking to write a cookbook, and what are you most proud of with that particular cookbook?
Well, I think the first thing you need to write a cookbook is you need to talk to somebody that is in the book world, because our ideas are not necessarily the ideas that a publisher is going to want. So that's the first thing you need to do, is you need to talk to a literary agent, and you need to propose the idea. Hey, listen, I have this idea. How does this sound to you? And they are the ones that are going to say, oh, it sounds interesting, but we have the experience that this kind of cookbook don't so well, or either this kind of cookbook really does very well in the market, and they will also understand that what you want to do needs to stay there. Your vision, your dream, but they're going to guide you to where you want to go. If you just do what you want to do by yourself, it can be a lot of work that can lead nowhere. And that's one of the main things you need to do. You need to work hard and understand that you do have something that you want to give out, but it needs direction. And we cannot provide that direction. Somebody else needs to provide that direction for us.
What part of Tacos, Tortas, and Tamales are you most proud of?
Well, I think in my two recent cookbooks, one of the things that I'm particularly proud of is that everything we have given has been well researched and can be very understandable even by a Mexican, you know, and that I can hit the two cultures. It has given me a lot of pleasure, you know. I have Mexicans that call me and said, "Oh, I never thought that was how you use this." It's like, yeah, it's good. That makes me very proud. That makes me very proud. When somebody from Mexico City calls me and says that, it's like, oh my God, yeah, people are getting what I was wanting to say, and it's very good. Hitting the two cultures has been a great thing.
So there's a lot of mistakes that people can learn from when they're in the culinary industry, but are there any mistakes or common pitfalls that you think people, young culinarians or even seasoned restaurateurs should avoid?
I don't know if mistakes can be avoided. I think we're always learning, and we're always in the risk of doing something and failing, or, you know, oh, I want to do a little restaurant in that corner store. It's like, well, yeah, let's do it, and people goes and does it, and that's great. You know, the passion that drives people to do that is great, but you didn't know that this and this and this. I think there are no mistakes that you can avoid. You're always going to. The only thing you need to always be ready with is, you know, come back up again. You know, if you fail, come back up again. We were actually talking about that this morning. They were talking about this entrepreneurial course, and you know, how are we going to teach students, you know, to create, let's say, restaurants, if you wanted to go into the restaurant business, and that are really successful, to have less risk of failing. Mm-hmm. And the answer was, you can't do that. You can't do that. You never know what's going to fail or not. You don't know the reasons why. You know, you can have a lot of capital behind you and create this enormous big chain of restaurants that can be a failure after 2 or 3 years because you didn't keep up with something. I think it's just a matter of trying to close as many gaps as possible so that nothing slips through, but it's got to have a passion behind it. It's got to have something really important behind it that is going to tell people, wow, this is different. But I don't think you can avoid that. I don't think you can do that. You just need to go.
Yeah, let's try it.
And do it.
You credit your grandmother for having taught you how to cook and teaching you about food and being in the kitchen. So what do you think are 2 things that we could do on a daily basis to increase the knowledge of food for children and kind of involve them in the kitchen?
I think we need to bring the kids into the kitchen more often and really teach them and give them. I remember one of the best parts of my childhood was when they gave us food that we could play with. So they were careful not giving us anything dangerous, or they were careful to do that, but they gave us, you know, if they were making tamales, you know, they will say, okay, kids, you know, there's a little bit of dough for you, and there are these broken leaves that they gave us, you know, and then it was, why don't you just cut the piece off and make little guys, you know, and we will play and make itty bitty things, and they will cook them for us, and then they will bring them out. So, but if you are given the food to play with and to do that, more people are going to grow with, you know, food. It's what it is, I think. You know, that is exactly what it is. Like, you have to always remember that you're a little kid playing with food, mm-hmm. and then you know, and that's why, you know, when you work on a dish in your head and you go make it in the kitchen, and a lot of us get really frustrated, mm-hmm. and then you shouldn't get really frustrated, because it's exactly what we did at the very beginning, which is we're playing and we're trying for this to be good. It needs to be tested, you know. We can think of anything, but it needs to be cooked and put together and tested, and then you see the results, and it can be very fun to see that you created a failed dish.
And so what's another possible way that we could involve kids in the kitchen with food?
Take them to the market as well. Take kids to the market and explain what things are and tell them what they are related to, you know, and so that they always have this relation with, you know, tell them that a carrot is very similar to this and to that, and they are both root vegetables, and then, you know, show them back at home in a book, or, you know, they're making now great books about that with illustration for kids and things. I think that's what we need to do. You know, we get them involved in the process a little bit more.
So thank you very much, Chef, for coming here today and speaking with me and just sharing a little bit about your journey and your advice. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.